Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the English Garden. It is afternoon rather than morning. I must admit I've broken one of my rules today. For various reasons, I wasn't able to speak to you all before our family lunch on a Sunday, and so it's now after, which means that I have had a few glasses of wine. One of my rules in life has always been don't do speeches, don't do presentations after you've had wine, delay the wine for after, which is why a trade secret, if you ever come to any event that I'm speaking at or any of our company parties or presentations, you'll find the speeches are quite early because I like to do the speeches and then have a drink. But hey, the world is a strange place at the moment, so I hope you'll excuse me. It's a quiet family lunch, so I'm sure I won't be slurring too much, or you can tell me off if I am. So, what's been happening? Well, as always, a million things happen every day. First of all, we heard on Friday here in the United Kingdom about our quarantine, which is coming in, which was expected and long awaited. As you know, I try and be non-political or non-judgmental, but I do struggle. The quarantine comes in starting June 8th, and it means that anyone leaving the United Kingdom has to quarantine for 2 weeks when they come back. Clearly, the government was asked many questions, why not before? And it seems to me obvious. I mean, most countries, Australia, India, the EEC, Indonesia, put a quarantine very early in the piece, and I can understand the logic. You know, clearly you don't want people coming in or leaving, you want to quarantine your society. The argument of our government that somehow it didn't need it before because there was widespread cases of coronavirus just doesn't wash with me, because clearly if there was just one more person coming in, that's one more problem. But anyway, okay, we can accept that maybe the government knows more than we do, and now is the right time to put it in place. But where I really struggle is why start it 2.5 weeks from now on June the 8th, if we have identified that now is the time for quarantine to stop British people travelling outside, essentially, and stop inbound traffic, tourism and business related. Why not stop it now, tomorrow? What is the point of leaving it 2.5 weeks? What is the magic of June the 8th? Is Jupiter aligned with Mars? Is there somehow some mystical reason for that? But anyway, we mere mortals merely follow what our overlords, our sort of politicians tell us. And that is the case, that we are in lockdown in 2.5 weeks. I have to say I'm less concerned or negative about it from a tourist point of view than I was previously, because I do find it incredibly hard to implement. I find it hard how they are going to implement it. And I think that a number of people, maybe some of you are UK owners, a number of people will view it that they will still take a foreign holiday and they will still come back and self-isolate and stay at home, which is pretty much what a lot of us are doing now anyway. So we will see how it pans out, but I must confess I'm not a politician, I'm not a scientist, but I think it's a poorly thought out program. I would have thought it had been better to have done it earlier in the piece, and I do think it's going to be interesting or challenging to see how it actually works out. And I guess the other problem I have, without wanting to rant on a little bit, is the leadership, because it strikes me as amazing as Boris Johnson, since he's emerged from hospital, has done virtually no speeches. And clearly these things which are immensely important to the economy and to people, and he delegates to other people, because my belief is that in times of crisis, it must be the leader speaking. People want to hear from the person where the buck stops on their desk. And Boris purports to be a great fan of great leaders like Petrocles, like Churchill over the years. And he does seem to shy away from the light. Anyway, and in fact, one final thing before I pass over on that, I was also having a conversation with someone earlier on today. It strikes me that in this crisis, some of the best leaders have been the female leaders of the world. And I don't want to be criticised of sexism or racism or any preferential. I merely make a comment that I was saying that Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand has done, I think, a very good job. I think Mette Frederiksen in Denmark and Angela Merkel, and some of the female leaders seem to have got the sentiment right and the timing right, whereas some of the, how should we say, more sort of macho male leaders like Boris Johnson and Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin and Bolsonaro in Brazil seem to have misjudged it. So it's not for me to say what's behind that reason, but it does seem to me that some of our female leaders have been quite positive and proactive and very, very successful in this crisis, shall I say. Anyway, to move on, this week I had a pleasure to do a town hall for our members of staff and also what we call our SMT, which is our senior management team meeting. And I outlined to them my thoughts for the way forward, and I thought you may be interested to hear what we're thinking internally. I mean, the first thing I talked about was what I call my tunnel analogy. And I see very much as what we're going through now, a little bit akin to a driver riding your car. I call it in the Alps, it could be anywhere in the world. And you're going around a bend and you suddenly reach a tunnel. Before that time, you didn't expect the tunnel. It was bright, it was sunny, your stereo was playing, you were feeling very positive. And you hurtle into the tunnel. Arguably, people would say that some politicians could see the tunnel a little bit in advance, but whatever. We hurtle in the tunnel, it's suddenly dark. You're disorientated, your heart rate goes up a bit, you slow down, you turn the music down. There's a change of attitude. And I think that's what's happened. We hurtled into the tunnel of coronavirus and everyone pulled back. We slowed the brakes down and we pulled back the car, so to speak. I think now, to a certain extent, we're beginning to get slightly through the tunnel. There's a long way to go. The tunnel is twisty. It goes through the Alps or it goes through the Central Highlands or whatever. We don't know when it's going to end because we don't know if it's going to be short or long term. But what we are seeing are a few rays of light. We've begun to respond to life in the tunnel with a bit of darkness. We've begun to respond to the fact that the conditions of the road are slightly different. And we're seeing some ventilation shafts coming down, throwing some light down. So I think now internally we're moving into two new phases, and I call those phases the phase one, PPT, excuse me for plagiarizing PPE, but you know, what the hell, which is preparation, planning and testing, and phase two are the green shoots, the GS. What is the first phase, PPT? Well, to me, I believe in July we are going to get some resorts open. I believe we are going to see not normality, of course, but we are going to see people wanting to take holidays and being able to take holidays. So for us, the next 5 weeks is preparation for this stage. It's planning for this stage and it's testing of the environment. So we'll anticipate the resorts opening. We want to very much liaise with you, the owners, to find out where you want to go and what we can do to give you a holiday. We want to liaise with our various marketing campaigns and our third-party channels to make sure that we can, number one, fill our resorts, but number two, provide the attraction, provide the product for the people that want to come and see us. We need to very much set up our COVID-enhanced protocols. Clearly all over the world, different companies are doing different things in order to provide security for clients staying at the resorts and indeed for the staff that are staying there, or working there, I should say. So both parties feel happy interacting with each other. And it's not only actually having the protocols or what we call in the business the standard operating procedures, the SOPs, but it's the training, because clearly the staff need to understand exactly how to handle situations, whether it be in the restaurants or the gyms, whether it be at the beach clubs or in the room maintenance or reception or whatever. So clearly we're going to look at a 4-week, 5-week period to make sure that we are not only compliant and can provide you and our clients this security and comfort, but we're also professional in delivering it and that we're able to follow it up through. We also want to launch these ancillary products like Karma Nomad that we've spoken about. And we also want to actually go on a bit of a roadshow where we can and travel and meet owners, meet people, promote what we're doing and get a lot of feeding and a lot of feedback and a lot of testing in the marketplace. And that, I believe, will lead us through to what I call the next phase, which is the green shoots, where I'm hoping that we'll be able to open a number of resorts starting from early July. And again, to recap what I believe that'll be. And I must say, what I'm very, very, very keen on and really need is the feedback of owners and our clients as to where they would like to go if they can and what they would like their holiday experience to be over the summer months, because we want to be responsive. I mean, there's no point me planning on opening a resort or investing time and money in an asset or a product if our owners don't want to go there. And similarly, there's no point owners having an expectation of going somewhere if they can't go there. So I am encouraging my great customer services people to get on the phone or the emails or whatever the dialogue mechanic is and communicate with you so we can have a mutually successful next few months. Given that it's shifting sands, and given that we know the world is changing on a daily basis, and it's hard to predict actually where we can go or what we can do. So in England, our plan is to open St Martin's up in the Isles of Scilly, and we're looking at July the 4th on that one. So please, if you'd like to come and visit us there, put your hand up, because I guarantee that's going to get very, very busy. Elsewhere in England, we're planning on opening Karma Sanctum on the Green, which is in Cookham, just outside London. And also in London itself, the Karma Sanctum Resort, whereas normally I would be saying middle of summer is absolutely packed full of normal tourists. What I've done is taken an allocation of space there, which is available for our various club members. So if you'd like to come and spend time in London, and it'll be quite lovely London, I think, there'll be an amazing scenario going on, then please get in touch with that. Elsewhere, over in Europe, we have obviously in France, Normandy and Previgère, which we're going to try and do a pop-up hotel on. The only caveat I have on that is that France has also done a bit of a tit-for-tat reciprocal basis on their quarantine situation. So if we can, that'll be available, but we are slightly in the hand of the gods on that one. What I'm very, very keen on getting open up is Italy, and I believe there will be a very strong demand for Italy. So I'll come back to Italy in just one second, but if you'd like to go to Italy this summer again, please tell us. And Germany will be open clearly, as we have discussed, and indeed Greece. Crete will be, I think, a very attractive destination. So again, if you're in Europe, and we believe it's mostly domestic with a bit of international within Europe travel, please consider if you'd like to visit our resorts and give us a hoy. In India, Goa, we believe, will be open from July onwards. We know that tomorrow domestic flights start, although I am a bit of a skeptic in the short term how successful domestic flights will be whilst there are still lockdown protocols in place in India. And I know that some states are actually banning people or quarantining people that come in. But I think by July, our hope is that that'll be ironed out and that clients and guests can come down to Goa. So we're ready and waiting for you. And the same over in Bali. In theory, we believe in the middle of June, the airport is open and domestic travel can commence. Again, it may take a few weeks, we think, until it actually picks up. But again, the resorts are open. In Australia, we have Rottnest, and again, Rottnest will be available for usage, and we'll be having the Karma Nomad. So we are up in the air slightly. My belief is that all we can do is get our resorts ready, our protocols ready, our structures ready. We can be ready to welcome you, our clients. We can have the cold beer on tap. We can do all that we do, but both sides, whether it be the company, whether it be the owners, are clearly slightly dependent on what happens with governments, airlines, transportation, and second waves or second spikes, or whatever it need be. But please communicate with us. I think in all these things, by working together, we can provide the best solution for all of us over the coming months. Okay, let's finish off on Italy. Actually, this time, before I cheers you, I will show you the bottle, and you will note that it's actually only got a little bit left, so I apologise, but it has been nudged over the last few hours with rather good lamb. But this time we're going to Italy. We're Isela e Olena, which is one of my favourite Chiantis. It's not vastly expensive. It's a beautiful wine. I think it's great value for money. And it comes from very near our resort, Borgo de Collioli in Tuscany, just outside Florence. And I actually, although on one side I'm frustrated by the governmental decision to delay the quarantine until the June the 8th, I have to say I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity, because the quarantine in Italy finishes on the 3rd, and here it starts on the 8th. So I'm going to be flying down on the 4th. I'm going to meet with all the people at our resort and get it ready to be opened up and fly back on the 7th. I feel a bit almost like a Second World War spy, having to fly in and fly out. And I'm not sure if I'm being naughty doing that or not, but it's okay. It's legal, it's technical, it works. And I'm desperately keen to get that resort open. I would be lying if I said I wouldn't be quite keen to have a nice Italian meal and a bottle of wine down there. And going back to my premise before, I'll be looking forward to some meetings, even having the meetings with the accountants and lawyers, or nothing wrong with accountants and lawyers for all of you that are, I apologize, but I'm excited, so it'll be good. So I'm going down there in 2 weeks, and it'll coincide with a Sunday, so I'll send you an update from the Borgo de Collioli. Anyway, to finish off, there's a reason I chose this wine, quite apart from I like it. I'll leave you with a bit of a funny story. Every single year we do a thing called the Penguin Walk, and as you may know, we sponsor and support a school in India of 900 kids called Crystal House in Bangalore, where they take orphans and they take street kids and educate them right up to 17 years old. And every year, as an add-on, myself and a group of partly friends and business colleagues gather and do a charity walk to raise money for taking a number of the really top students and putting them through university or an MBA degree. And to date, we've put 27 through, and they've become doctors and lawyers and engineers and all sorts of things. It's called the Penguin Walk because we dress up as penguins, obviously. It started off as the Penguins de Prévigère à Pamplonne, the penguins of Prévigère that walk to Pamplonne. And we gather about 20 or 25 people. We raise money in advance, of course, and we set off at 5 in the morning and do a walk dressed as penguins. Although there is another twist, because every year the penguins get confused, and the person who's the oldest or the youngest that completes the walk each year chooses the animal the penguins will cross-dress as next year. So this year, I think it's the sloth or the beaver or something, whatever it is. But anyway, a couple of years back, I digress. A couple of years back, we did it in the Borgo de Collioli, and we had the penguins on tour. We gathered at 5 in the morning. We set off down the hill, people dressed as penguins and various animals, looking quite sort of strange. We walked to San Gimignano, which is a beautiful walled medieval town around about 7-hour walk away. And obviously the penguins needed to stay hydrated. And so en route, we stop off at various different places. And we stopped off at 9 o'clock in the morning for a wine tasting at a little agricole, a little farm that makes its own wine. We've been walking for 4 hours, so we're a bit dehydrated, a bit thirsty. And the farmer had laid out his wine. It was quite simple, low yield. And we had a tasting and we drank. We didn't spit too much, put it that way. We drank most of it, and we had a fantastic cheese and local hams. And I can remember speaking to the daughter of the owner, who was the interpreter, saying, look, we love this wine, we're having a great day. How much do you produce? And she says, 10,000 bottles. It was only a tiny little factory. And I said, how much is it? And she said, it's €7 a bottle. So I said, well, having had a few glasses, what price would you give me if I bought 50% of your entire year's yield and we made it the Karma wine of the year? And she interpreted to the father, who virtually had a nervous breakdown and didn't understand. And we settled on a price, I think, of €5, and we did a deal then and there. So that was our Karma wine that year, the Karma Chianti. They must have thought that telling stories in the town that night that a group of 20 inebriated penguins came over the crest of the hill at 9 in the morning, had a wine tasting, and bought 50% of their annual yield. So anyway, so if you go to my resort there, which I'm sure you will, and you have a Karma Chianti, that's where it came from. Us at 9 in the morning, deciding to buy it at €5 a bottle. I think we sell it at about 15, but don't worry, all the profit goes to the actual charity. Anyway, I shall sign off again. I hope you are sane in your lockdown, your cabin fever zone. I hope you're staying healthy. I hope you're safe. I hope you're getting benefits out of this and being happy. And I guess most of all, and the most important thing to the note of my story is I hope you're staying hydrated. So it's good to speak, and I look forward to getting in touch quite soon. So cheers.